Is that why you think you've made such a good mediator? Become such a good mediator because you're much more likely to look at the big picture rather than just the black letter law as such in any situation?
I think it's why I'm particularly drawn to mediation. And, because on one level I love running a case. Like you are truly alive if you've had enough sleep and you're ready. But, you truly, if you're prepared and you've been able to get enough sleep and you've got the brief in good time and it's, been in a nice order.
Which always happens, of course.
But, when you're on your feet and you're cross-examining and it's going well and your brain is in gear and you're looking for the nuances in the answers and you're picking the holes and, you are extraordinarily alive at that moment. And it's quite addictive. That's clear, that adrenaline rush that comes from doing a case. But it's not all that satisfying for the clients.
No.
Great for the practitioners, not all that satisfying for the clients.
Because somebody will definitely lose.
Yeah, and what mediation is, with mediation, you are assisting the client to take their own decisions about the case and to take ownership of resolving the dispute. And that's a powerful gift to be able to give to someone, the benefit of the experience. And you need to work with them either as the mediator or as counsel assisting in a mediation. And you need to build a trust with them, and then you need to help them think out what the possibilities could be. It's so tempting and to give people the answer. And one of the things that I've noticed in the role that I do in the organisation, AFLAM, that I'm on.
What does AFLAM stand?
It's the Australian Institute of Family Law Arbitrators and Mediators, and I'm the Victorian representative on the board of that. But even before I was doing some mediation coaching for them. And so when they run a training course, they've got scenarios that are played out, and they're the standard little ones that, same little mediation. I've never seen the same outcome come in those, the number of times that I've done those mediation coaching little stories, they've never come to the same outcome. But what you do see, particularly when you are coaching, is you see the moment when the trainee mediator forgets to give ownership to the people who have the dispute and starts to steer people towards an answer. And that's you get this wide outcome. So when you do mediation, you have to have a great awareness of yourself, what your tolerances are for letting people have space and letting people explore. We're always telling mediators to sit back in the chair, get out of the dispute, listen, question, ask curious questions, let people have that space to find the solutions for themselves. If you want a solution given to you, go to an arbitrator or go to a judge. But mediation is a space where people can take ownership. And getting your client ready for a mediation is a process of getting them ready to understand enough about what the possible range of outcomes are so that they're ready to work out what they'll let go of and what they need to hold on to.
That's really good advice, and it's exactly the question that I was going to ask you. What makes a good mediator, and what skills do you have to have as a legal practitioner in preparing your client? You've answered it without me having to ask the question.
Well, I've got a little bit more to say on that. And one of the things that I discovered when I did the bar readers course all that long time ago now. And the point that's made really clearly is that, and Julian Burnside was the guest lecturer who really made this point really clear. He said, being a barrister is something you can learn. Cross-examination is something that you can learn. Being a natural at it is probably a disadvantage, because you cut corners and you don't do the preparation, you don't think about the questions. Mediation's the same. Mediation is something that you need to learn. So a lot of people will think, okay, that person's a barrister, they can mediate that dispute. Well, no, what you'll do is you'll settle the dispute as if you were running litigation. And you'll pick a side and you'll end up nudging towards that solution. And that's very much a evaluative type of mediation, where you come to the mediator, you give it a go and you say, well, what do you think? Do you both want me to say what I think? Because what you say is going to be the number. And I learned that way back in those consumer credit negotiations, and one of those big cases that we did a national mediation, and instead of doing cases one by one on these group actions around the country, and our judge mediator said to me, tell me, Emma, what is it that X $1 million says to you that Y $1 million doesn't? And I'm thinking, why did he say a number? And the QC who was assisting New South Wales, because they had better legal aid funding, the QC that was assisting them said, well, there you go, people, this case will settle for Y or it won't settle. And I thought, what did he do? And that's why I started studying mediation. What was it that he did that then said that's the answer? And, you know, and the QC said to us, he won't have said that in this room unless he's also said something, you know, the opposite mirror question in the other room. And, you know, it's what makes a good mediator depends on what type of mediation you're doing. And I am attempting to practice a facilitative mediation model where you assist people to reach the decisions themselves. It's wonderful working with a team of lawyers as the mediator, where you've got your the clients are each represented by solicitor and counsel. But it's also really satisfying working direct with parents, because I went and did study and a graduate certificate to become a family dispute resolution practitioner, which some family law barristers and solicitors have also done that extra training. And working, as I do occasionally, direct with parents and not acting for either of them, and assisting them and seeing how they might have, you know, got annoyed about that, and then it's reacting here, and assisting them towards cooperative parenting, that's gold.
It is. It's really is. In fact, Emma, you've inspired me. I've been thinking about going overseas and studying next year, and especially in Germany, and there is a good mediation course there, and I was tossing up whether I should spend the money to do it or not. But no, you've really made it such an attractive option.
I think that, I mean, we've seen mediation really take on a role in family law. It used to be an alternative to court. Now it's required as part of the court processes. And if people don't go to private mediation, they've employed a range of registrars in the Federal Circuit Family Court who are trained in mediation. So they've got the options of external or internal. And it's partly the court can't possibly resolve every family law dispute. Can't possibly. It needs to decide some of them, but with assistance, the theory is that people can take control and do that themselves. So I really see not just that do mediation because you'll never get on in court. Do mediation because this is a better way to manage a dispute. And our skills as lawyers are well used in assisting people to resolve the disputes themselves, rather than, keeping them having to come back to lawyers all the time when something goes wrong.
Well, especially, like you said, in credit and consumer law, because they don't have any resources. You know that if they can't resolve it themselves, they're likely to get a much worse outcome. And I do think that that's a skill that we develop over time, and I think people feel better about themselves if they've achieved it themselves, and are more likely to commit to it going forward. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.